Hello and thanks for joining us. We are back here at Camelback Ranch, of course, home of the Los Angeles Dodgers spring training. I'm Maria Sorreo, joined by Doug Hughes. Doug, good to have you back.
Good to be here, Maria. Thank you. Always a pleasure to escape the East Coast this time of year and get to baseball spring training. Particularly a pleasure here at Camelback Ranch. This is a beautiful setting. They continue to develop it and have it be a great place for spring training baseball for the Dodgers and the people who want to watch the Dodgers.
Absolutely. Of course, all the Dodger fans that come out here because it's such a quick trip from Los Angeles, and we love coming out here.
It's great to be here. It's not as dramatic a change as from the East Coast.
Yes.
The teams that are from, like, say, Cincinnati or Minnesota appreciate it even more. But still, a nice change. LA coming to Phoenix, it's a beautiful setup. It's fan-friendly. It's a great place to come and spend a week or so.
Absolutely. And more baseball fans than ever come out to Arizona. I know that you couldn't even rent a car this week. Hotels are filled up, so a very big deal coming out here.
You cannot rent a rental car in Phoenix right now unless you made a reservation like a month ago.
Wow.
And you better double-check your hotel reservations if you're coming here. I came pretty darn close to sleeping on your floor last night.
I'm telling you, or Gino's floor, one of the two. All right, we are actually in the dugout. We're on one of the practice fields, and this practice field is unique, Doug.
Gino's our camera guy, and I'd rather be on your floor if I had to pick. Nothing personal to Gino, but anyway, yeah, rental cars, hotel rooms at a premium, very popular. Spring training in Phoenix has become an extremely popular thing.
Yes, but now we're talking about the field that we're on right now. The field is the exact replica of Dodger Stadium, exact dimensions.
And that's a great touch. It's one of those things you think, oh, that's cute, but it's actually important, particularly to the outfielders and the infielders for getting set up for the relay throws. Outfielders playing the ball off the wall, right, center, left. It's fairly regular dimensions in this ballpark. It's not as dramatic as, say, a Fenway or an Enron where they have special features. But still, in terms of getting used to where you're going to be playing exactly half your games during the regular season, maybe more, assuming they finish with a high seed in the playoffs, getting used to that is a great touch. It's fun to be able to look out and see a setting that is the same as what we'll be seeing during the year in Chavez Ravine.
Absolutely. Now, a lot of big changes with the Dodgers, and a lot of things stayed the same. But, of course, I think the biggest change is Don Mattingly taking over for Joe Torre. And we had a few minutes to just talk to Don Mattingly, and he's very relaxed. I would say his demeanor is relaxed, and he's ready to go.
Donnie Baseball has been doing this for years. This is his first year as a head coach, and he got some good tutoring time under Joe Torre. And if you're going to get tutoring time, Joe Torre, good place to get that.
Absolutely.
We're watching him handle a press conference. He does this as though he is Joe Torre. He does this as though he's been doing it for 20 years. You cannot throw a baseball question at Don Mattingly that he can't answer. He is 3 steps ahead of you on everything. He is intimately familiar with every part of this game, including pitching. Now, you think of him as being a hitter, and I always say this about him. I've said it for years. Before he came here, I think he is one of the 10 best left-handed hitters of all time, and this always gets me in an argument. You've got Ruth, Williams, Musial, Brett, Wynn, and somewhere in that mix, probably a little bit after that handful, but somewhere on the other hand is Don Mattingly. You think of him as a hitting guru. That's what he is. He also knows his pitching, and that's why he was a hitting guru. These two are intimately bound together. He can also oversee the pitching staff. He is made to do this job, and he's doing it, from what I can tell, just a great job.
Well, and not only that, but a lot has been said about the fact that the players can relate to Don. Some of them actually remember him playing baseball, where with Joe Torre, some of the older managers, these players don't have that same kind of feel with the managers. So I think that they feel a little bit better. He's closer in age to them. Even Joe Torre mentioned that to me last year when he was leaving. He said, I think the guys are going to be very comfortable with Don. So I think it's a good fit.
And they're both major leaguers. People always forget Joe Torre. It was an excellent
he really was.
But probably a fair number of players could look at Joe and say, hey, frankly, Joe, I'm better than you. Not too many can look Don Mattingly in the eye and say, I'm better than you.
No.
So he's a pretty young guy. He's energetic. He knows everything about this game. He seems to relate well to the press. Not that that's important, but he does it, and it's a nice touch, and to his players. And he seems to have a natural handle for what he's doing here, which gives a sense of comfort, which is nice for everybody. You can just go about your job.
It's interesting because in Los Angeles, the Dodgers are criticized, of course, because they haven't been back to the World Series in a very long time. And I think Don Mattingly is somebody who can absolutely make that happen because he knows what it's like to play in those games.
Yes, he does. And this is a tough business. You're judged by whether or not you get to the World Series. And this is, what happens in football. Have you been to the Super Bowl lately? And have the Dodgers been to the World Series lately? They have not. But are they a sound franchise? Yes. Do they have a chance to compete and get there? Yes. And I think it's good enough if you're in the mix as the season is winding down. Did not happen last year, and this is a tough division this year. They've got the defending champions now. The World Series champion San Francisco Giants are in their division, and everyone's talking about them repeating. The Padres very good, didn't fade until the end of last season, and fade spectacularly. They did. The Dodgers went down a little earlier in the year, and that's what Mattingly will be working to prevent is any kind of collapse earlier in the year, to try to stay strong through the end and get into the postseason.
You know what's interesting about that, though, is nobody saw the Giants coming last year. Of course, everybody talks about the Phillies, the Red Sox, and the Yankees on a regular basis, and the Padres were doing very well all the way up until the end. But the thing about the Dodgers is this year, Ned Colletti has brought a group of guys together that are kind of the unknowns, just like the San Francisco Giants were last year. Nobody saw the Giants coming. This year, the Dodgers have incorporated some new guys like the Juan Uribe, a Tony Gwynn Jr. These may be holes to plug into where the Dodgers needed that kind of new energy. He's also been able to keep the core players like James Loney, Andre Ethier, Matt Kemp, Clayton Kershaw, of course, is returning as the starting pitcher this year. So we've got a really good group of guys that have been together a long time, which I think means something, because over the years we've heard nothing but, well, Kemp will be traded and Andre Ethier will be traded for a bigger name down the pike. But these guys now are big names, and it's up to them to get the job done, and I think they can do it.
We were talking about the ratings of where the players stand in the baseball community.
Right.
USA Today has its list of the top 200 players.
But they don't like the Dodgers, so we can't really go by that.
Well, and the only Dodger they liked was Matt Kemp, and he finished, I think, number 36. He was the only Dodger in the top 100. So what are the Dodgers? They are.
And I'm sure the Yankees and the Red Sox, and no offense to them, were the first 20 . So
they're
and the Phillies,
media-friendly franchises. Yeah.
They
well, the
are.
Phillies, you can put their whole pitching staff somewhere in the top 50 and sign off on the Phillies.
And yet they were all beat last year by San Francisco. Isn't that interesting?
It is funny, but they didn't have the same talent. Philadelphia, what they've assembled for a pitching staff is gaudy, and we'll see how that plays out, of course. But on paper,
you never know about injuries. You don't know what's going to happen, Doug.
On paper, it's alarming. So on paper, the Phillies are the team to beat, but they're not in the Dodgers division. So who's the team to beat in the Dodgers division? Well, that's the defending world champions.
Yeah, and I think that's not the team for everybody to beat. Really, they're the benchmark right now.
Well, and maybe it's just the media. Nobody saw them coming. They were a team of misfits and cast-offs, and Corey Ross got traded from the Marlins midseason. People didn't see that coming. Aubrey Huff wore on his sleeve the fact that he was out of work all winter, and then nobody called him. He said, "This is the only team that called me, and I am ready to run through a cement wall for them." That's what they built. Cody Ross, Aubrey Huff, those guys, they built a core of people who have not had distinguished careers, who do not have gaudy stats, but who pulled together and won. A little bit freakish in baseball terms.
Yeah.
The Dodgers, if they're going to do it, are going to be in the same position. What they have done in the offseason is assemble a team of people who are not giant names, no pun intended, on their own. Matt Kemp is the only one in the top 100 if you follow USA Today's rankings. So they're going to have to pull off the same thing, a team that plays together, rallies around itself, and does not have any particular star. If it has a hitting star, it's Matt Kemp. They can ride one horse, and that is Clayton Kershaw. We'll talk about pitching later. But Clayton Kershaw, if you're going to build a team and say, I need a stud on my mound to anchor this thing, someone who is very professional, strong, everyone's comfortable with the day he's pitching, that's Clayton Kershaw, and I think he's going to carry them pretty far.
Yeah, and let's talk about pitching a little bit, because it's important. We've got Ted Lilly here, we've got John Garland, who's nursing an injury right now. It should be ready by mid-April, I believe Stan Conti said. And the pitching is solid. They've got a great bullpen. Jonathan Broxton, we just talked to Don Mattingly about John, and he feels very comfortable keeping him as the closer. So we're going to see what happens, because right now their bullpen looks solid. It's important.
And I like Chad Billingsley in the starting mix too.
Very good.
But I think there's a drop-off after Clayton Kershaw, and almost any team except the Phillies maybe that he plays on, there would be a drop-off between, and he probably wouldn't be the number one there, but he's the number one here, and he'd be the number one almost everywhere.
Right.
I think Billingsley can throw. I'm comfortable with him. Closing, frankly,
well, it's going to be a question mark, because Broxton had so much trouble the end of last season that, you wonder, is it mental, is it physical? I guess his velocity is up to 93, 94 right now.
And he looks like he throws 120. He's a big, scary guy. But the reason I was hemming and hawing with the is I don't know what to make of Jonathan Broxton. I don't have a sense of great comfort, not that anyone cares how I feel, but the reason for that is he is hit or miss. He looks like a closer. He's a big, strong, scary guy. He throws hard, not quite as hard as you'd think from looking at his 300-pound frame, or they've pared that down a little to 290 or so. He's a big guy. He's a scary
guy.
You cross the street when you see him coming.
But
talking
about this is what you think. A lot of fans think as you do as well. So it's something that they need to address when we talk about. Of course.
Well, and he as I guess the nominal closer going into the season. He's the guy that they're going to hand the ball to late,
that's right.
and it's his job to lose. I don't know if he can hang on to it or not. There's nothing more frustrating for a starting pitcher than to leave with a two-run lead after 7 innings, and watch your closer leak it away. And
what kind of mental toughness do you have, do you think, to be a closer?
You have to be oblivious to a whole lot of stuff, feel that you can beat anybody up, overpower anybody. As soon as you start having doubt, it creeps into you, and everybody jumps on it. They'll say, boy, his eyes don't show it. His eyes don't look like he has it. Body language, body posture, and then your pitching mix. Do you start, if you're a power pitcher like Broxton, do you start getting cute? Do you start throwing more breaking balls? Are suddenly guys beating you in the late innings off your curveball? So, or your change, which Trevor Hoffman made a living out of, the changeup. So change can be a power pitch. I shouldn't denigrate that. But do you get away from your strength?
Right.
If you are a power pitcher, if you like to mow guys down with a fastball, are you not doing that for some reason because you guys have started hitting the fastball, you get away from it a little bit, now your confidence goes, then everyone else loses confidence in you.
Right.
There's the snowball and there's trouble.
I will tell you one thing though, all of the players in the Dodger locker room, they have complete confidence in Jonathan Broxton. I think that's huge because if your teammates rally around you, you're going to have a better shot at coming back, and they seem to.
Well, and again, he's a big scary guy. If he approached me in the dugout right now and said, Doug, whoever you are, do you have confidence in me? I would say, yes, sir. Yes, sir, I do.
If he beats you up, he's going to beat you up, you know that?
And it's going to go quickly, and it's going to be embarrassing, and it's going to be bad. And everyone thinks that way. Not that there's going to be fights when he gets out there, but that is the kind of guy he is. He has the closer's persona mentality. He's got a live arm.
That's right.
Just has it been working out for him lately? He probably is not quite the pitcher he'd like to be, and the Dodgers want him to be a little more reliable down those last few pitches of the game.
Absolutely. And it's tough because he was an all-star last year, having a great season. It wasn't until the end of the year that he really stumbled and fell. So we'll see what happens with that. Another two great guys coming back for us are Jamie Carroll and Rafael Furcal. And when Rafi is playing great, there's no better hitter in the lineup.
He has a beautiful swing. He has a beautiful compact swing, and he's an excellent defense player. Rafael Furcal is the kind of guy you can build a team around. Also, you can build a pitching staff around Clayton Kershaw. You can build a defensive club and a batting nucleus around Furcal. He is a solid player. You know what you're going to get from him. You're going to get it all year long. Don't worry about him at all.
Yeah, and also another big story for the Dodgers is, of course, Russell Martin is gone. He's with the Yankees now, but we've got Rod Barajas, AJ Ellis, and Deanna Navarro, who are all trying for that catching job. And I got to tell you, Rob Barajas has been such a breath of fresh air because he wants to be here. He grew up a Dodger fan. We love that. We love guys that actually get to that field and they just want to touch the grass because they're so excited to be there.
Well, of course, they should be in the catcher's box where there's no grass, Marie. They should be away from the
but
I know
you know what I mean.
I know what you're saying. And everyone worries about Russell Martin being gone. They miss Russell Martin. And it's like when you think of an ex-girlfriend, you think, oh, she was wonderful. I remember the good parts about it. We remember the good parts.
You forget all the bad parts, though, huh?
No comment. We remember all the good parts about Russell Martin.
Right.
He was, when he was on, he was both sides. He was a great offensive player, power, handled the pitching staff well. Things started going a little bit south here. They parted ways, and people are worried. Oh, we don't have Russell Martin anymore. Well, you're remembering the good Russell Martin, and we played for a while here without the good Russell Martin. And things went okay, but it was time for an upgrade. He's going to be better off where he is, and I think the Dodgers are going to be better off with a fresh look at catching. A little unnerving. That's a terrible position to change. You'd like to have stability. The franchises that had the same catcher for years, and the Johnny Benches for the old Red Machine and the Carlton Fisks.
Gosh, Doug, how old are you?
A million, and that's shaving some off. But having a guy like that behind the plate who's there year in and year out is something that's good. So when your catcher changes, that is probably the worst possible. Maybe shortstop, but changing the catcher I think is the worst because it changes the way the pitching staff throws the ball, and you lose an anchor. There's nothing that jacks a team up like a play at the plate where the catcher gets blasted, holds onto the ball, and ends an inning.
That's true.
I think there's nothing like that. There's walk-off home runs, and those are good too. But I don't think anything pumps people up like a catcher who can stand in there, take a shot. And Russell Martin was that kind of guy. So that's the good Russell Martin. We remember the good part of our ex-girlfriend. But it's time to go in a new direction. the Dodgers are going to have to feel their way through that, and it's a question mark, so it's a little worrisome.
It's a question mark, but I think that they're going to be able to do it. And again, they've got a lot of really good talent, and it's time for somebody new.
Yeah, this happens in baseball. It happens in other sports. It's just time, and so unsettling as it is, here we go.
Okay, speaking of time, they're about ready to kick us out of here because it's time for them to come over here and start practicing on this field. So Doug and I are going to go talk to players. So don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. We are here with Clayton Kershaw, who had a very busy off season. You got married?
I did.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and where was the honeymoon? We talked about that.
Well, we went to Mexico for a couple days, and about 3 weeks later, we actually went to Africa. So we were kind of all over the place.
Now, your wife Ellen, she has been there before on a mission trip. Is that right?
Yeah, this was actually her 5th time to go. So it was, it was my first time. It was, it was an eye-opening experience for me. It was just kind of see what she sees over there in Africa. See some of the, obviously you go to a third world country, you're kind of, understanding that the poverty level is going to be a lot more than you expect, and that was tough to see. Then, but just the joyful culture that they have over there. They're very happy people. It was just a good experience.
Did they know anything about baseball over there?
No, they love soccer. They love soccer over there, so we played a lot of that. Yeah, but no idea about baseball.
Did you have to sort of explain to them what you do, or?
Well, I don't know for sure, but some of the kids that we played with seemed very athletic. We gave them a ball and started throwing it, and then we put this glove on their hand, and they caught with it. So they had no problem picking it up.
I think it's kind of an innate thing for anybody, just the glove, the ball, the bat, maybe, or just to kind of learn how to pick that up.
Yeah, catching and throwing. They picked that up real fast, so it was fun.
All right, now you're almost done with camp here. What's been different about this spring training for you?
Not too much. Other than Donnie being here as our manager. That's. For me, just still trying to get ready for the season. It's really about it as far as work-wise and getting my body ready to go.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that. Don's been here for a while, but not as the manager. Has your relationship changed with him at all, or is it?
I think so. I think he just has a wider scope of responsibilities. He, before when he was the hitting coach, he obviously was concerned about the hitters, and so now he, it's good to see. He stepped in, watched us throw bullpens. I think he's just trying to get a feel of what we like to do pitching, and, it's been good. And, Donnie's so positive and so enthusiastic with the club that, it's been a good spring training.
You've got some new guys in here and a mix of guys that you know very well. How's that going?
It's great. We got a great group of guys. We've got, some of the more experienced guys. I won't say older, but we have some more experienced guys here that are awesome, And then, we got a good group of young guys, too. So it's definitely a fun group to be around.
I have to ask you, just aside from baseball now, did you go to the Super Bowl this year?
I had a great off-season as far as sporting events. I went to the last game of the World Series, and I went to the Super Bowl. So, it was fun to see.
Even though the wrong team was playing in the Super Bowl, right?
I know. Cowboys, we gotta work on that. Struggle.
We didn't have a very good year last year, did we?
Oh, Tony will be healthy. We'll be all right next year.
Yeah, it was funny. We visited with Torrey Hunter a couple days ago, who lives in Dallas, and he was also saying the same kind of things. I'm glad Wade's gone, and we just have to get it back on track. So there is another person here besides you and I who's rooting for them. So.
Oh yeah, there's a whole Cowboy Nation out there. So we all feel that everybody's pain. Yeah.
How excited are you to be the opening day starter here? Couple weeks.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Playing the Giants. Lincecum. It'll be a fun game, and it's definitely a huge honor. I'm excited to do it, and also at the same time trying to keep it in perspective. Realize one of 162.
Coming in last year being the new guy, it was a little odd, a little different. You got to get to know people, personalities. Now that I know the personalities, I can kind of help the new guys out. I can kind of communicate with them and try to give them input on how things are run here and how how guys are. So it was awesome. It was great to be able to be a part of the organization last year for that month and a half, and it's going to only help me this year with players, new players, and the staff.
Not in addition to new players, you've got Don Mattingly coming back, not as the hitting coach now, but as your manager. What's the dynamic like between you and him now as a player and a manager?
Well, it hasn't really changed. We talk quite a bit. He comes up to me, asks me for my input on, how I feel, how about what pitchers, how they look like, and if anything, he's a little more hands-on. Before it was just hidden. All we talked about was pretty much was hidden and trying to get myself to be successful at the plate. But now, we talk about other aspects of the game. Whether it's base running, defense, pitching. He comes to me, and that's great when you have the open line of communication between the manager and the players. And I think he's doing a great job of that.
So opening day just a couple weeks away. What's it going to be like for you to be on opening day in Dodger Stadium?
I'm gonna be a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie. Opening day, that's always a special day. For everybody. Everybody gets the jitters. But for me, this will be my first opening day in a Dodger uniform at Dodger Stadium. There's definitely gonna be some nerves there. But once that first pitch goes by, I'm sure the nerves are gonna go away. I'm gonna get back to being the competitive baseball player that I am, and look forward to starting a brand new season with high hopes.
Good. We'll get some tickets because you got a lot of family that'll be coming to that game.
Yeah, I've been hit up quite a bit, so I got to make sure I try to get as many as I can as quickly as possible.
All right, well, Dodgers are done, so Doug and I found our way back to the dugout. No pun intended there, Doug.
Very good, Maria. Well, it's spring training for everyone. We're working on our material. It'll get better as the year goes on. Don't panic.
Oh, hopefully as the show goes on.
We can hope.
Yes.
Dare to dream.
Yes. Now, there have been a few bumps and bruises along the way in spring training, so we caught up with Dodgers head medical trainer Stan Conti, who gives us the injury report. We'll just get updated on some of the players' conditions here through training camp. I know Casey Blake's got a little bump and bruise. What's going on with him?
Well, he had a back problem in a very kind of strange place, not in his low back and not in his mid back, but sort of in between. Had some inflammation around the spine. And he was hitting yesterday on a tee, and we're going to give him a day off today and kind of move him along. I don't think it's going to be a long time. The question always is how long. Right. And so the timetable will be determined by his back. Right. So we'll see how it goes. And I know that we talk about back injuries a lot because you kind of have to just wait and see with them. Yeah, he came into camp in really good shape, and that really will help. Good. The only thing unfortunate about Casey is that it's attached to a 37-year-old, and exactly. And then there's a little bit of increased healing time there. So we're going to be careful. The idea is to get him back, but to keep him back, so not just get him out there too quickly. And we saw John Garland while he was pitching having the injury. So how's he doing? He's doing actually well. The oblique injury is always one that real hard to prevent and comes out of nowhere and takes about 35 days or so to get over. The first couple of weeks you can't do a whole lot, but he actually is throwing. He's out to about 90 feet throwing. We can't throw real hard yet because that'll cause the oblique to get irritated and not heal. So he's kind of still in the healing phase, but he is on schedule. And the more we can throw, the more we keep his shoulder in shape, and the quicker we'll get him back out here. He unfortunately will not make the season start, but the way our schedule is, it really helps a lot because we don't need that fifth starter for a little bit. But he's another guy that is very important to get out there, but not to get re-injured. Right. And so we're going to be pretty careful and make sure it's a long season. And we want to have all our guys out there right on day one, but sometimes that doesn't always happen. The key is to get the rest of the season without an injury. We have to remember it's a marathon, right? It's a marathon. Yeah. When you talk about an injury like that coming on out of nowhere, what causes it? Well, the oblique injury is really a strange one, and the question is, where were they 25 years ago, and whether or not they're a new phenomenon, or maybe they were misdiagnosed or called something else. Okay. And when we look at the research, we just really don't see them. So we're not really sure why in the last 10 or 15 years we've seen them, and they seem to be slightly increasing. They're sure not going away. And there's a lot of different theories to it. Some is that there's not enough core exercises done. Other people think that we do too many core exercises. So you got people all over the map on that. It doesn't seem to have any existing issues or anything else. It just comes, and it's a very significant injury, and you can't pitch through it. No. Anyone who says they have an oblique injury they've been pitching through doesn't have a true oblique injury. Well, and as you could see just from his mannerisms when he was on the mound and it came on, very quick, very sharp. Yeah, and it very typical the way they act. And as soon as he threw the pitch, I knew it was an oblique injury. I knew what the MRI was going to look like. I knew what was going to happen and and hopefully we know how many days it will be before he's out there.
Okay, now what about Padilla? What timetable is he on?
Well, again, we've got just a slew of strange injuries. The radial nerve injury that Padilla has is we can only find one pitcher ever in the history of baseball who's had it. Wow. So after the surgery, we're not really sure how long to wait or when to do things, and so we consulted a lot of people across the country and decided that we could start throwing him pretty early because of the nature of the surgery. And he's been throwing really since 8 days after surgery. And he's been doing very well. He had a bullpen 2 days ago for the first time. A little bit of soreness afterwards, so we're being pretty cautious. He's back throwing again today. The timetable is, we projected about 2 months out of surgery. He's way ahead of that schedule, but we're not really sure what's going to happen when we start getting into batting practice and game situations and how that'll hold up. But we're very, very encouraged by the progress he's made so far.
It's interesting because you and I talk about the fact that these guys can say, I'm feeling better, I'm okay, but they're not always, so.
No, and that's the reason that we take them in different transition steps and, throwing on flat ground, throwing off the mound, throwing to hitters, throwing in a simulated game, throwing in a rehab game, and then finally throwing in a major league game. Now, one of the things that's going to help us with Padilla is that he's being brought back as a reliever and not a starter.
Right.
And that will shorten his time because in a starter like Garland, we're going to have to take a lot more time to get his pitch counts up and then have to wait in between his starts. And so the time period goes much slower. On a reliever, you can move much quicker. You can throw three times in a week, where in a starter you can only throw once in a week.
Right.
So the time period will be shorter as far as getting him back to the major leagues once we start getting him into competition.
Now, who else has got bumps and bruises going on in the spring?
Well, Jamie Carroll got hit by a pitch, about 2 weeks ago, looked at him and it was sore, but he was able to get back. It got sorer again, so it only hurts him when he throws, but he can hit fine. So he's hitting in the minor leagues every day, getting 6 or 7 at bats a day, and he's going to be ready for the season. Everything's going to be good. We just want to get the last bit of the soreness out since we do have the time right now.
Yep. Very good.
Not too bad.
Well, pretty good spring then.
Well, yeah, you want zero, so we're never satisfied unless there's zero. The couple injuries that we have with Padilla and Garland, and Casey Blake are disconcerting. After we beat ourselves up a little bit and get back on the horse and get them going, we feel better. But not too bad so far.
Well, that will do it for us from Camelback Ranch. Of course, we're doing 2 teams in 2 days. We'll be with the Angels tomorrow, Doug.
2 teams in 2 days on our $2 budget, Maria. We're doing fine.
That's it. All you Dodger fans, we'll see you back at Chavez Ravine. I'm Maria Sorrell for Doug Hughes, and we'll see you next time.